I'm glad you're able to join us for this weekend devotional. At the beginning of this week, uh, I had cataract surgery on an eye with some difficulties. And being me, with some anxieties. And I began wondering what would happen if this happened, or if this happened, or if that happened, or if it did not work. And as I went through the surgery, things worked rather easily, even though I had the anxieties of being awake. And the doctors very reassuring, very good about what they were doing. And yet there were still a few anxieties along with these things. And many there in the waiting room, and there were those who were before me who had surgery, and those afterwards. And when we finished, there was I looked up and I could see very clearly everything that was there, and I was excited. The doctor come in and he tested for the pressure for glaucoma, and it was down low like it was supposed to be. And then we did it a second and a third time that afternoon, and it remained low as it should. Well, the next morning when I arrived to his office, and each one of these people were seeing things and could see with that eye that had had surgery on, and I was looking and I could not see anything, and it was just red. Went into the doctor and he checked things out, and it seemed that the blood had centered and pooled inside of the eye over I guess the iris. I become very concerned. I began to question, what if that's all they can do? What if we can't do any more? What if we have to do something else? You know how the mind gets carried away, and I'm one of these who for some reason has this worry. But we all face difficulties and things in life, and we began to question, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if something else occurs? Or what if I can't handle this? Or what if I have to live this way the rest of my life? We began seeking God in prayer, and by noon, nothing had happened. We drove around Lubbock and things, and still we're there. I began to think. I think, well, you know, one should thank God if things work well. But what if they don't? The answer to that is glorify God anyhow. What if I don't get my sight back? Glorify God anyhow. What if I only get a partial or it interferes worse? Glorify God anyhow. And we go through these things, and we question why, and we question what if this, what if that. But there are no what ifs. He says, glorify God anyhow. We're human. We want to glorify God for what we want. I want us to listen to something out of Psalms 96. He said, "Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord. Bless his name. Tell of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous works among the peoples. For great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, for he is to be feared above all gods, for all the gods of the peoples are worthless idols. But the Lord made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before him, strength and beauty are his sanctuaries. Ascribe to the Lord, O families of the peoples, ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord glory due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. Yes, the world is established. It shall never be moved. He will judge the people with equity. Let the heavens be glad, and let the earth rejoice. Let the seas roar and all that fills it. Let the fields exult and everything in it. And shall all the trees and the forest sing for joy for the Lord, for he comes before the Lord, for he comes. For he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world in righteousness and the peoples in his faithfulness. You see, we seem to think we glorify God when we get what we want. I'm as guilty as any person. I wanted to thank God for sight, and I thank him for that sight. But when it wasn't there, I questioned. You see, we don't glorify God because we get what we want. We glorify God because God is great and God is almighty and because God is God. And so often we fail to realize that it's not about this life we live now. It's about that life we have with him eternal. About his willingness to care for us, about his willingness to give his son for us. It's not about what we want, not about getting what we want. It's about receiving that which we need. And the only thing we really need is salvation from sin. 1 Corinthians verse 31, he said, so whether you eat or drink, this has a lot to do with whatever I do. But whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all, everything that you do to the glory of God. Give no offense to the Jews or the Greeks or the church of God. Try to please everyone in everything. Do not seek. I try to please everyone in everything. I do, not seeking my own advantage, but that of many, that they may be saved. I listened to Paul. He said he was afflicted. He had difficulties. He had problems. He asked for it to be taken away. And yet he said God didn't remove it. But he glorified God. In everything he did, he glorified God. All the situations I find myself in, he said, I am to live my life glorifying God that others might see me glorify the God, that they might know that he is God, that it's not about me. It's about him. It's about him. When you start looking at seeing yourself and you're thinking, why am I facing this situation? Why won't God take this away? And you're thinking, why should I thank God? Instead, take a step back and glorify God anyhow. No matter. Glorify God anyhow. As you go through this weekend and this week, and you face those difficulties, glorify God. Don't ask questions. Don't look back. Continue to glorify him. Continue to seek him. Continue to do his will. And glorify him each step of the way. No matter what the outcome of your difficulties are. We may not overcome each difficulty. And yet God is God. And it's his son that was on the cross for our salvation. And we're to glorify him for his wonders and his power and his strength and his willingness to give his only son for us. I want to thank you for being here today, and may God bless.